You call yourself a Hindu. Isn't Charlie Kirk's organization founded on Christian values as well?
You are an Indian, a Hindu, coming from a different culture, different religion than those who founded this country. What are you conserving? You are bringing change.
Thomas Jefferson. You know who he is? You know what document he signed?
Declaration of Independence.
Yeah, and what was his belief system?
He was a deist.
He was a deist. Do you know who Benjamin Franklin is?
Yes.
Do you know what his belief system was?
He was Quaker, yeah.
He was also a deist. It's actually considered reading U.S. history.
Welcome back to Rattlesnake TV, guys. In this video, we're going to be watching Vivek Ramaswamy getting pressed very hard on his stance on legal immigration, as well as his faith as a Hindu, and how that is compatible with Christian America. You guys may have noticed that Vivek Ramaswamy copped a lot of heat when it came to his stance on H-1B visas. And he really fell off there for a while, but it looks like he's somewhat back.
Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are both facing major blowback from their own supporters for not only backing, but encouraging offering more visas to highly skilled foreign workers.
So with that, let's get straight into it with the first one, which is about his stance on immigration.
Okay, so my question is that over the past year prior to his assassination, Charlie Kirk became increasingly against legal immigration. And I know over Christmas you had defended it on Twitter numerous times. I'm wondering if you've changed your view at all in talking to Charlie about this. I've worked myself in an immigration office for a number of years and have very much become against a lot of the legal immigration we see. So I'm curious if your views have changed on that.
I would say my views have been pretty consistent over time, and they're consistent with what I reflected in my speech, which let's start with where we need to begin. I think, based on your question, I assume we would find alignment here, but I hope we do. We have double-digit numbers of millions of people who entered the country illegally. And my view is if you entered the country illegally, it is perfectly just for you to be returned to your country of origin. We haven't done that. So
I agree. Let's do that first. Focus on that first. But
and that would constitute something where we have still 10+ million numbers to go before we get to that question. Now, the separate question is, what should the legal immigration policy of the United States look like? Is the legal immigration policy of the United States right now serving the best interests of our country?
No.
I think the answer to that question is no. I agree with you. So what I favor and have long favored, and we got to have the courage to actually just stop bucking to, the last person who complained in your ear to actually speak truth, is we need a legal immigration system that accomplishes one thing. Does it serve the interests of the United States citizens who are already here? That should be the sole purpose. Now the question is we may disagree on exactly how we do it, but at least we're aligned on the goal. The goal of U.S. immigration policy is to serve the Americans who already reside here. Then we have a question of what a merit-based system looks like. Now, the White House took some steps recently to say that, people should have to pay more to be able to actually hire someone from another country. I think that's actually a reasonable approach. If somebody's asked to put their money where their mouth is, that's a reasonable approach for framing the question of how we think about legal immigration to the United States. But I think that is a tough question. We're going to have to roll up our sleeves and actually ask the question, what best advances the interests of the citizens who are already here? And a precondition for even having that debate is actually to have ended the illegal immigration crisis in this country that we can't just sweep under the rug to punt for this other complicated question ahead of us. That's where I land on the question. So thank you for your input.
So look, I think that is a fair response. Vivek has obviously gone about refining his message because he saw just how deeply unpopular his huge support for the H-1B visas were. Because, newsflash, Americans are not so keen to get swarms and swarms of Indian migrants through the door. Especially when that visa system has been largely exploited by corporations for cheap labor. But anyways, he's refined the message. Good to see. And we'll see where it takes him and how badly it's actually affected him. So with that, let's get on to the next bit. And these ones are very, very interesting, where he gets pressed on his faith as a Hindu.
I have a personal question.
That's allowed.
So based on what the press says about your beliefs, you call yourself a Hindu, but you also call yourself Christian.
I don't call myself Christian. I call myself a Hindu.
Okay. So based on what the Turning Point's values are, which is Christianity, I'm a little confused on why you believe in I don't know. Wouldn't it be logical to conclude that a monotheistic organization would be more, I don't know, I guess I just don't understand why I guess a polytheistic ideology would support some sort of, I guess, monotheistic perspective, which Christianity is. So I guess I'm wondering why you have Christian values in that way.
Sure. Happy to address that. What's your name, sir?
Liam Birmingham.
Liam. So tell me about what you know about Hinduism.
Hinduism is a polytheistic religion that
Guys, I just wanted to quickly let you know, if you didn't know already, that I stream on this channel about 6 times a week at around about 6 p.m. Eastern time from Monday through Saturday. And you might not know about it because I delete them all after, because the streams are very, very spicy. We have hundreds and hundreds, sometimes even thousands and thousands of people who jump in those streams. It's really good fun, great community there. So if that's something that interests you, then hit that notification bell and you'll be notified every single time I go live. Hope to see heaps of you there. Let's get back to it.
So with due respect, I'll just cut in right there because there's one thing I have a little bit of authority on. I'm actually a monotheist. I believe there's one true God. It's from the Vedanta tradition of Advaita philosophy, not stuff that, we need to spend a ton of time here on, but since you asked about it, I wanted to address it. I believe there's one true God. Now, let me just ask you, because I know that may be a hard thing to process. What's your faith?
I'm a Christian. I'm a follower of Jesus.
Great. Do you believe in the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit?
I think a lot of people here do. So
good. And that doesn't make you a polytheist, does it?
Probably not, no.
Great, because I think this is it's a great spiritual question. There's good dialogue here. Is every religion has its reconciling of the one and the many. And so in my faith, I believe there's one true God. He resides in all of us, and he appears in different forms, but it's one true God. So I'm an ethical monotheist. That's the way I would describe my faith. Now, I will tell you, I'm not running to be pastor of Ohio. I'm running to be governor of Ohio, and I didn't run to be pastor of America. I ran to be president of the United States of America. Can I ask you a question in response? Because I love dialogue like this.
Sure, yeah.
Do you think it's inappropriate for someone who's a Hindu to be, say, a U.S. president?
No, I think it's... No, well...
You be honest.
Isn't Hinduism... Well, I mean, I can ask yourself that Hinduism believes in Shiva and what is it? The flute god. I forget.
Right, Krishna, who's you're thinking of.
Yeah, Krishna.
So the one thing for you to take away from about my faith is I'm an ethical monotheist. I believe in one true God, the Advaita philosophy of Vedanta, and I think that as you think about the Holy Trinity and what that means for you're not a polytheist either. That's a similar philosophy, and I'd love to kind of continue that over a religious dinner conversation sometime. But
you also call yourself a Hindu as well.
I am a Hindu. I am a Hindu.
Okay, so technically, Vivek is actually correct here in the sense that Hinduism is not necessarily a polytheistic religion, although there might be some sects of Hinduism that are genuinely polytheistic, but you'd have to fact check me on that one. But despite there being many different gods in Hinduism and throughout their texts, they are all meant to be expressions of one ultimate source, which is Brahman. But even if that is technically true, it still doesn't make Hinduism compatible with Christian Europe, just because they technically believe in monotheism also, even if that is true, which I'm not 100% sure it is. But Hinduism and Christianity, they don't just disagree about theology. They have a completely different start point and completely different assumptions about reality. Hinduism sees the universe as cyclical, endless births, deaths, and rebirths. It treats the material world as something to transcend. Christianity sees time as linear. History has a beginning, a purpose, and an end. In Hindu thought, society is ordered around the idea that people have different spiritual duties based on where they're born, hence the caste system, which is not just social, it's metaphysical. Christianity, on the other hand, builds from the belief that every human being is created equal before God. And this is why Western civilization managed to develop the ideas like universal rights, individual freedom, and moral equality under the law. Ideas, by the way, that were actually brought to India, to the main Hindu country, through colonization. And they actually benefited from those Christian institutions, by the way. Before that, you had all kinds of different heinous pagan practices. So all this to say, yes, Vivek is technically right about this. Hinduism isn't just many gods. It is a vastly complex system and philosophy, but it is still a different civilization entirely. One that produces a different kind of society, different values, and fundamentally different vision of what it means to be a human. And this is why it will never truly align with the Christian West. And this is also why I find it pretty concerning how many Hindus are in Australia, but also how many Hindus are in the United States and actually taking office in the States. There are 4 in Congress at the moment. And then you've got people like Vivek and then also Kash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard. But anyways, I have to cut myself off here. Let's carry on with the video.
So I'd like to, so we're here mostly, I love having spiritual discussions. We can continue this another time. What I'd like to focus on today, though, is actually where that leaves us with the values of our own country, the shared values of this country. And actually, to that effect, what's your name?
Liam Berman.
Liam, I have something I'd like to give you. Would you like to just come on stage and join me for a moment? It's something that's really important to me. It's next to my faith and to my family. This is the next most important thing to me in life. I usually keep it with me. And for tonight, I think it'll actually be really useful for having you come up here. And I'd love to give it to you. You want to join us for a second? Give Liam a round of applause, folks, for being brave and asking a tough question. Thank you, Liam. So what I'm about to give you is something that's actually near and dear to my heart. And when I think about our journey of leadership in this country, what matters more than the differences in our faith is our shared value set. And next to my faith and my family, this is the next most important thing to me. This is the Constitution of the United States of America. I'm going to give you my copy from today. And there's 7 articles in it. I'll ask you to just open it up real quick to Article 6, if you will, for a second. And I think it's actually, we talk about the Constitution a lot in our country, and I love that. One of the things I love about it is it actually makes sense to read the Constitution from time to time. It's a good thing to actually read. So we'll go to Article 6. There's 7 articles in it. And why don't you just read the Part 3 to the audience? We'll make this our constitutional reading for the day.
The senators and representatives before mentioned and the members of the several states legislators and all executives and judicial officers both in the United States and the several states shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. But isn't Charlie Kirk's organization founded on Christian values as well? And isn't the United States of America also, based on what Protestantism is, based on how those values are? Wouldn't that contradict what your beliefs are?
So it actually turns out that my belief system, the core values, though the theology is different, the core value set is the same. We believe there's one true God. Don't kill, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, don't commit adultery. You familiar with the 10 Commandments? Yeah, so am I. And I think that one of the things that's the beauty of this country is that we're the country where, regardless of what your faith or your lineage is, if you subscribe to the ideals of our country, that's what makes us and brings us together as Americans. And Charlie and I ended up having a lot of discussions about faith. And one of the things I loved about him is, in his Christian faith, his intellectual curiosity and interest in other people of monotheistic faith and being able to find similar values. That's what our friendship was based on. And to the extent that you're interested in continuing to learn about other faiths beyond your own and how that brings us together as a country, I'm happy to continue the dialogue with you, man, all right? Read that Constitution. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, so I see what he's trying to do there, but I will say that was a very uncomfortable moment, and it did come across as very condescending.
It actually makes sense to read the Constitution from time to time. It's a good thing to actually read.
Not to beat up on Vivek. I mean, this is not the beat up on Vivek video. I obviously do like him, but the kid is making a fair point there. America is a Christian country, whether they like it or not. And I mean, the people who founded the country and wrote those founding documents would have at least had pause for thought if they ever thought that there were going to be pagans from the East coming over and taking up high office in the country. And it clearly does say that the Constitution is for a religious and moral people. And who are they talking about when they talk about religious? Well, they're definitely not talking about Hindus, because at that time, besides maybe from missionaries or a few travelers, they had basically no contact with the Hindu world. And the Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishads were just only starting to circulate around Europe at that time. So honestly, I just don't really think that pointing at the Constitution is a fair argument there. Anyways, on to the next one now, where the following kid does not hold back.
Hi, Vivek, you would profess to be a conservative, correct?
I'm a proud conservative.
If you are an Indian, a Hindu, coming from a different culture, different religion than those who founded this country, those who grew this country, built this country, made this country the beautiful thing that it is today, what are you conserving? You are bringing change. I'll be 100% honest with you. Christianity is the one truth. Jesus Christ is God, and there is no other God. He is part of the Holy Trinity, and any other God is a demon, and it's false. How can you represent the constituents of Ohio who are 64% Christian if you are not a part of that faith?
Like I said, I'm not here to justify my faith to you any more than you are to me, but what I do share is the value set this country was founded on. And I think that it's really important that we not reinvent the founding of this country and what it was actually all about. The founding fathers, they had an opportunity to write a religious code just like most other nations in human history. All right, founded either on a monarch or a particular faith or a particular lineage. That's where most nations in human history are founded. Not America. We are the only country in the human history where there is a set of civic ideals that brought together a divided polyglot group of people 250 years ago, where freedom of conscience was a core belief set of our founding fathers, all the way to Thomas Jefferson. You know who he is? You know what document he signed?
The Declaration of Independence.
Nice.
Yeah, and what was his belief system?
He was a deist.
Nice.
He was a deist. Our third president, the man who signed this nation into existence, was a deist. Do you know who Benjamin Franklin is?
Yes.
Do you know what his belief system was?
He was Quaker, yes.
Nice.
He was also a deist, similar to Thomas Jefferson. So what I think that we often do is we talk about U.S. history. I have a better suggestion. Let's actually consider reading U.S. history. Consider studying U.S. history.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
Learn the founding of our country, and that's what made our founders, I believe, the most extraordinary people known to the history of man. We would do well to actually respect their legacy rather than to reinvent some sort of imitative version of every other nation in human history. That's not us. I'm sorry, that's what makes America great, and that's why I am proud to be an American. This is the country that I will die fighting for if I have to, because it stands for those ideals, and that's why we're here.
Right, so...
Keep praying and pledge allegiance to the flag, my friend. Thank you.
Of course, Christ is king, but my response to that would be the same way that my church would let a practicing Hindu, a practicing Muslim, a practicing Jew come in and enter and worship with us on a Sunday morning. That person would not be allowed membership. And I'm not saying don't give other religions citizenship. I'm just saying you can have freedom of religion in an extremely religious environment. And that is what our founding fathers intended. If you look at the structure of our government, it is a replication, a mirror of the structure of Reformed churches in America in that time.
Absolutely. I think our nation was founded on Judeo-Christian principles. The question is, what are those values? They're the values enshrined in the Ten Commandments. Do we share those values in common? You're darn right we do. And I think that people of most faiths across this country share those values in common. What we're failing to do is actually standing for those values in the government as it actually runs. And so, what I suggest is study U.S. history, study what made the country great. And if you think Thomas Jefferson or Benjamin Franklin were not eligible to be founders or leaders of the country because they were deists, then you and I respectfully have a difference of opinion. And yet the beauty of our country is we're still able to have that difference of opinion and still call ourselves fellow citizens. Thank you, my friend, all right?
Thank you very much, Vivek. Have a great rest of your day. God bless you. Christ is king.
Thank you, my man, all right? Keep praying. Thank you.
Okay, so the older I get, the more I see the truth in this kid's energy. Jesus Christ is king. And actually, that is the only way, it's the only way that Western society can be held together, and here's why. Throughout my travels, I've seen many different Western countries, rich and advanced, but spiritually completely fractured. Since these countries have moved away from Christianity, they actually don't have anything that fundamentally unifies them anymore. And the unifying force needed is not going to be democracy. It's not going to be liberalism. It's not going to be multiculturalism or feminism or gay pride. It's not even going to be conservatism, because these days anybody can basically chuck on a MAGA hat and call themselves a conservative. I mean, none of the aforementioned systems are going to offer a deep, eternal framework and a guide on how we live, how we govern, or how we interact with one another. The trends will change, the movements will rise and fall, but there's no enduring philosophy that actually anchors these ideas. Christianity is different. It gives us a moral compass, a vision for human dignity, and a framework for justice that transcends generations. It shapes not just laws, but hearts and communities. It builds societies that are beautiful, ethical, and resilient because they are rooted in eternal truth. Everything else, politics, ideology, cultural movements, can never ever match that. They are temporary, relative, and fragile. And that's why I think that only Christianity can offer the foundation strong enough to actually sustain the Western world, same foundation that it was built on. So, anyways, guys, do not forget to hit that notification bell, get notified with all of the live streams. Would love to have as many of you as possible there. Like the video if you haven't, subscribe to the channel if you'd like to watch another one right here. Next time, I'm Jake. This is Rattlesnake TV, keeping you armed and dangerous.